if you thought our LEC power rankings were terrible, this is even worse. Well, I don't know. It depends. I haven't looked at these in forever. This has been... When was this recorded? January 14th? Holy crap. That's 2 months ago. Look how good looking that guy's in that video. NightWing and JTH. You ever opened up a bag of, like, chips and you wonder, where do all the chips go? It's just a big bag of air.
There's no analogy coming here. What are you doing?
Okay. Because, like, that's what the NA LCS felt like. You open a big bag of chips and you get a blowing fat burst of air. Because there's a lot of hot air in a lot of the teams, and it just did not pan out. So I'm gonna run down who I said. TL first, Cloud9 second. So I got those two right. 100 Thieves is third. Crucify me. TSM fourth. So I kind of had TSM up there. Golden Guardians fifth. So that one was right. CLG sixth, barely. And then Clutch seventh, Echo Fox eighth, Optic ninth, and Flyquest 10th. His was TL first, 100 Thieves, TSM, Cloud9, Clutch, Golden Guardians, CLG, Echo Fox, Optic, and Flyquest. So which one do you start with? The biggest talk about is probably gonna be 100 Thieves. So
I'm gonna be honest. Like, again, these are preconceived notions we have around the rosters themselves. We have not had any form of knowledge how they'll play well together, if they'll play well together or not. You can only base, again, off the player names itself, so I'm not going to be sad about it. I don't care if we got them wrong. This is the first, like, again, if we get them really terribly wrong in the summer split, unless something drastic happens, then that's our fault. But I'll only take credit for so much. But, again, I think that the big thing here is going to be, again, Team Lakewood. Everybody expecting them to win. I think they fell off towards the end of the split, but they really did achieve what we expected from them. They were the best team in the league. Had the best roster in the league. They did really have this late game sort of strategy, and they kind of centralized their focus around the bot lane. So that's exactly what everybody expected. First place, not a surprise. Second place, for him, he still was right. We got Cloud9 on there, but I got 100 Thieves.
My reasoning for that, because someone's like, you're a fan, so you're going to put them there. No, I did not say that. What I said was that they had a really great massive run in 2018. You switch out one player for that. You're still keeping the same core of what your players like. I feel like if you take Licorice and Zazel and they take what they learned from Worlds, they largely did apply it to the split. You know, roaming, Licorice played absolutely incredible. Probably like third in MVP voting maybe. And you also have Sneaky, who massively had been getting better. And then you also have just the core of the team still staying. I thought they were gonna run with Blabber. Maybe they probably should have ran with Blabber throughout the split, maybe. But Svenskeren, he did have some games where he looked okay, and that's fine. And then Niski, he had Niski higher than I did. That's weird. Is that I had him at like fourth when we did our mid lane power rankings. I had him at fourth, but he actually had him at third. So Niski working out. My only issue was that he couldn't really... He needed to fix his laning phase, because there are players in North America that will crush you if you do not, have your laning phase on properly. So I felt like if he improved on that, he was just fine. So
I think that, again, I want to give reasons as to why I didn't put them... I put them at fourth. But I want to give reasons as to why I didn't put them at second, even after that. Again, they switched out what I would say is their iconic... What the lane that they focused around, that was kind of their focus point. The way they developed their playstyle was, we need to focus around Jensen, and they had no Jensen. I think that Niski is a decent player, but he's not nearly on the same level as Jensen. I think that what kind of went different for me is the level at which, like, Niski played well. I don't disagree with that. I don't think he exceeded my expectations. He played just as well as I expected. Licorice, however, extremely blew my expectations out of the water. He was one of the best top laners in the league.
Yeah.
Sneaky himself, the most surprising player on this team. He was probably the best ADC in the league by far. Like, it was not even laning phase was incredible. His post laning phase was the best in the league by far and away.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many things that I didn't factor in that did happen to Cloud9 that could have happened in thought process, but did not like you wouldn't expect it. Like,
well, you were also going off of, like, the last time we did see them was at Worlds too, so you got to go off of, like, what you did last see out of them.
Again, Sneaky is never Sneaky hasn't played this well in forever. This has been Sneaky's best seasons in quite some time, or so. I think that Licorice improved drastically. Like, it wasn't a slight improvement; it was a drastic improvement.
Like a lot of players go into his sophomore year slumping, kind of.
It's like I didn't like again. I expected him to play well, but to the level he played, it was just
like he played better than Hooney.
well, that's really not played better than Hooney when he was good. No,
no,
he played well this year.
Yeah,
but he's not.
He drastically improved on everything I wanted him to improve on. Like last year, my criticism of him was that he wasn't playing bad. What Someday was doing for his team, he wasn't doing. Like he wasn't really sufficiently winning the game for him. Now, if he gets the lead, he knows how to really win the game for them. So I think, hey, he improved on what I wanted to, and he's there. Thank God we have this guy.
100 Thieves is my second place team, and there's really nothing I can say. Again, I'm not going to get too hung up on it. Mm-hmm. We couldn't expect them to play. No, again, the things that are wrong with this team are things no one expected. He was one of the better mid laners in the league last year. If anybody says that Pobolter was better and they should have picked him up, that was not true last year. It's not a true statement. Pobolter was the singular. He was the problem with the Team Liquid as to why they couldn't succeed in a lot of the situations because he was a liability. Mm-hmm. Or so is he was the single best player on CLG last year. The reason as to why they were pushing, like they had a lot of spurts of like just like the first season, the first split. They almost made it to the playoffs. They were like on a tear at the end of the season, in the spring split, and he was the singular reason for that. I think that he played out of his mind, like played really well last year. I don't think he was in the top 3 mid laners, but he definitely deserved consideration for like his drastic improvements throughout the years. And Pobolter was on a significant decline, so I honestly expected this Team Liquid like they on paper before the season started, Ryu was a gigantic downgrade, and they upgraded it drastically with Huhi. Mm-hmm. And worse so is Alphamu got paired with an even better ADC than he had last split. And they still had the core of their like decent line. Like Onda was in my opinion, on an upward trajectory, and all of these things could have came into being when it just didn't. Everything went wrong. The like picks were not getting picked for the correct players. Like all of these things that could have went right just didn't end up going in the way that I really wanted them to. Like 100 Thieves, again, I think they have a lot of potential. I think they did at the very least, but if like they just didn't have what it takes. Like Afro just gigantically underperformed this season. It was one of the most disappointing things about it. Mm-hmm. Like it just his inability to like kind of like play to the level at which we know he's capable of was the biggest reason as to like why I'm disappointed in this team, because it's not the fact that they didn't win the split. It's a fact that they lost in the way that they did. The 10th place, this roster should not be 10th place.
It's just the way they lost was like they gave up. Like they went on stage, loaded up the game, and they gave up.
Yeah. You got anything else to say about this team?
100 Thieves. It's weird because they have what KT Rolster had in 2017 and 2018. Like you look on paper and you go, nope, this should like it's the same thing. Like you look back to that KT Rolster lineup and you go on paper, you're going, okay, yep, nope, that should be first place. You look back to them, they should at least still be top 3. Just looking on paper, it should at least be top 3. But no, it just was terrible. And since we did do news when we first started the channel, or we will still do news, Nate Shot said in his 100 Thieves videos that they're changing the roster for the summer season. I don't know what that looks like. He just said they're making changes. He also said he'll hopefully find them all good teams. We don't know who they're changing. I imagine they're just going to keep Bang. That's what I just imagine you do.
Bang and Someday would be the cores of what you want to keep.
Would you imagine if they switched out Someday for Fake God? If they switch out Someday for Fake God, Someday is the most valuable player on the market at that moment, and whoever needs it, the top leader needs to buy that guy.
Clutch Gaming. Oh, everybody besides like Cloud9.
Someday, what's your bank account? Write him a check here. Can you be on our team? Because he's making changes, and if like I said, Someday's great. Well, that's what I said before. But if he doesn't fit the mold of the team, then maybe he needs to be switched out. You know,
not true.
Maybe
there's no mold in existence that he can't fill.
Like, what if he's not communicative enough? Just little things like that. Like a lot of other players could fit his role, even though they're not as good. Sometimes you just need a change a change of scenery.
If you can't work around Someday as a player, then you're not a good team in general. You're not going to be better.
Okay, and who would you say is your biggest disappointment beside Clutch? Because most people are going to.
I thought we were just going to go down our list.
I mean.
That's probably the best bet.
Okay. I'll go down the list. Let's see.
Your third place team, we just talked about it.
TSM. TSM got third. You know, I felt TSM was going to be a good team. But they had a Acadian at the last minute, and that's when we did our video.
We didn't have a lot of hope for this team. Like, again, Acadian was... Like, we didn't know if it was going to be an upgrade, but he was not a good, valuable player coming into the split. Or so as like, a lot of these other teams had pretty substantial amount of upgrades.
Like... I felt like what really stopped TSM before was not there, and which was Grig. I don't feel like Grig was terrible. I always felt like Grig was exactly what TSM needed for a long time, just a supportive jungler who gave his lane resources. Acadian is something that TSM, in hindsight, shouldn't need, but it's working for them because they have players that facilitate Acadian's playstyle, like Broken Blade, Sven, Smoothie. Those pieces are working out for them.
Again, TSM, I think, I put him at third. I got it right. I think that Broken Blade, I expected a pretty good top laner coming in the split because, again, if you look at his TCL series with like his team, he was not a bad player. He was substantially still a good player. I didn't know how well that would translate over to this season though. But he's blown again. I think he was one of the best top laners in the league again, up there with Licorice. I think he's blown my expectations out of the water. He's been extremely good this split. The jungle, Acadian again, another player who just somebody who I didn't expect much from. Like I expected something from Broken Blade, but Acadian I didn't expect a lot. He pretty much had one good split, and then nothing else was like again the rest of his career achievements are just nothing. But now I would say that he's been a driving like again his early game presence and ability to get the lane going in top lane mostly has been the reason as to why this team is succeeding. I think that TSM is like again they're on the right path. They have a really good lineup right now.
Yeah, if they had Grig, they would be fourth.
Yeah, I think. But again,
that's still top four.
Bjergsen has stepped it up substantially this split. I think he's been one of the best in the top three for sure in the mid laners. I think that's non-debatable at this point. At the beginning of the year, he kind of struggled, but he definitely is on a different level at this point. His ability to kind of like in the mid to late game, like kind of take over the game has been reason as to why they have been successful.
I feel like he's finally like did exactly what I expected out of a mid laner. His roaming has substantially improved. If you look at just like how he's roaming here, at least in North America, he's substantially improved on that. He's not really playing as passive anymore.
I mean, I don't think he's ever played passive, and he definitely has roamed throughout his entire career. I think that a lot of people look back on probably his biggest mistakes and be like, that's how his play style, but that's not his play. Again, he's always been this player in NA, and I think that maybe it doesn't translate into the international stage sometimes, but for the most part, I don't think this is anything we haven't seen from him in his prime.
Yeah. We just hadn't seen that in like a whole year, and you're just like, well... Yeah. But, I digress. TL, C9, and 100 Thieves, TSM, so now we're
I mean, they're bot lane again. I mean, like, Sven and Smoothie were like, we wanted a lot from them. I put Sven as the best ADC in the league before the pre-way, if we go to the power rankings.
It looked really bleak for the first 4 weeks.
He looks really good right now. I don't think he looks like the best ADC, but he has looked incredibly good this season. I think that we're going to see, like, and Smoothie's really worked out well for this team.
I had Sven at, I think, second? Because, like, to be fair, these power rankings were looking kind of scary first weeks for TSM. You're like, man.
It looks really bad for me now with this 100 Thieves. But all around, I think that this team is on an upward trajectory. I think if we just go back onto what we think is going to happen in the playoffs, they're going to make a gigantic... I think they could beat anybody right now.
Yeah. And if they beat Echo Fox this week, TL is not going to choose them.
They're not. So, Cloud9, fourth for me. You already talked about him, so I guess...
Well, you talked about him, too. You were like, you gave the reasons why you thought they were going to be fourth.
Oh, I did. Okay, so we can skip over to Cloud9 now.
Yeah, top 4 teams we already kind of did.
Let's go to your number 5 first.
Yeah, because mine is redeemable. Mine was Golden Guardians. Exactly where they finished, 5th. This was a roster full of good players that were just rejects from other teams, but they were still good players. Minus Ole. That wow. Please, dear Lord, put Stunt on that team. God. Ole is still bad. Coming in, you're like, okay, maybe he can redeem himself. I still didn't think he could because I still thought he played bad last year, even without the double lift synergy.
I think it was the double lift synergy that's the biggest reason, but he's a mentally fragile person.
Yeah. And you look at how the team performed, they were still rather inconsistent, but they were still better than, okay, so they finished 5th. That means that they are pretty much better than every team, like half of the teams below them. That's all I expected out of them, and it worked out. It didn't look good first 4 weeks. Man, they were 0-4. That did not look good. But they improved. Froggen became, what, at least second best mid laner in the league?
He's definitely arguable for the top.
So I like everything I was seeing out of them. I still don't like certain things about them. Even looking till now, like I still think definitely is incredible, but he's okay.
What? He's been an absolute terror this split.
He had a few pop-up games. People were like to go by.
His entire career has been on what you've given him. He's been one of the better. ADCs. I'm kind of surprised you said that.
He's kind of like a Patrick, I'd say.
He's better.
Sheriff.
He's better than Sheriff.
Gosh. And then you look
Sheriff's
at how,
actually really good. Stop saying that.
like Hanser. Aside from that game where he got like abysmally clapped by Someday, and I mean bad, like this is bad. Like he's like top lane difference is a thing in that. Other than that, he looked pretty okay.
Oh, pretty solid.
Yeah, and then you look at contracts. He has a big problem with contracts.
I really think Andres sucks. He's been absolutely terrible this year. One of the biggest detriments to any team in existence. He's had a few games where he's had really good plays, and that's what everybody looks at. They're like, wow, this guy's good. And reality is, he's been a terrible player this year. His early game presence, again, he tries to make plays, and I'll give him credit for that, but it doesn't work. He never works. He literally is just mechanically not strong enough to make these plays happen, and it frustrates me.
Like, the Cloud9 Facebook group I'm part of, they're like, he's been a really impressive, aggressive jungler. I was like, what aggressive jungler have you been seeing? Aggressively, sucking.
He really is trying to make plays happen, and you got to give him slight credit for that, but to an extent, no. You've been too much. You've been sucking. You've not been, like...
You've been sucking?
He's been sucking. The plays he tries to make happen just aren't happening. He passes towards making ganks happen, and then either the gank doesn't work out well, or he just doesn't... Like, he gets there, they see him beforehand, and they just walk away.
There was a TL game. Remember how he Jarvan Cataclysm a LeBlanc, and she just W'd away, and then he died under the tower? He and then just before that, he made a mechanically good play by, killing X-Smithy, and then died by a Tom Kench tongue lick. I just don't think he's as good as people are making him out to be, but he's at
making
least
him out to be good.
Like he's at least middle of the pack.
Lower pack.
So you'd be like 7th, right?
I think he'd be 6th to 7th.
Yeah.
I think even Rush by the end of this, by the end of the season, Rush was better.
Yeah. Finally, Rush came into what we thought. Finally. But that's why I had him my 5th. A solid bunch of players that were rejects that could still make a good team. So that's why I had him my 5th. Your 5th is, woo! I should have never showed you that Jack tweet. Good old days when you were really, really nice to me.
My 5th place was Clutch Gaming. I don't think, regardless of what anybody thinks, the people that everybody expected Clutch Gaming to be held back by are the exact opposite. Everybody thought it was going to be Lyra and Piglet being like, wow, this team sucks because of them. When in reality, it wasn't. It was Hooney and all the rest of them, man. Like, Damonte played well throughout throughout the beginning to the middle of the season, so I'll give him credit for that.
Man, if they're not Damonte, they're probably not winning a lot of games.
Vulcan made a lot of decent plays past laning phase, but his laning phase is atrocious. It's absolutely terrible. He made some of the most irresponsible decisions I've seen in a long time. Again, Kai'Sa, Alistar loses to Braum Kai'Sa cannot beat Jinx. It was Braum Jinx. Kai'Sa does not beat Jinx in the slightest early game, and Braum beats everybody early game. You don't do that. Like, the reality of it is, like, he makes pretty substantial plays. He makes aggressive plays, and in his mind it works out. But sometimes it doesn't work out. It's a really big cost to his team. Like, he needs to realize that. Like, I think he's just trying to go for big plays too often, and it's been a really big detriment to this team. Like, I'd like to see him tone it down a bit. Again, he is really mechanically good. I think he's a mechanically good player, but
what I saw out of him when we went for the game, there was a time where an Urgot had to timely kill him and somebody else, and he what's that thing? A stopwatch at the right time. Like, you can tell he's mechanically good at some things.
He's mechanically good, and honestly, he does make good engages for his teams, but at the same time, he makes a lot of misplays that end up costing his team too much.
The laning phase mistakes are really detrimental, and it's super hard to make that better, because on paper you wouldn't think Wild Turtle and JJ should beat Piglet and Vulcan.
No, I mean, honestly, that shouldn't happen. Again, it came down to his misplay. He's made a few of them, but for the most part, I do think he has a lot of potential. But Hooney who played horrible this year. Hooney played absolutely terrible. He was the single worst top laner in the league at this point, in my opinion. Just I think that he could have made a lot of plays this year that could have worked. But for the most part, like he really just tried to make things happen too often. Like it's just like again, I think that he tried to be this aggressive laner that he just wasn't. He shouldn't have been. Like his mindset is too weak.
So he has a double-edged sword because like last year on Echo Fox, he had Dardoch to facilitate all of his aggressive plays, and it worked out. Now you factor that into Lyra. If you look going into the split, Lyra wasn't gonna be like Dardoch that way. But then they tried that and it failed really bad, terribly. They had them and Acadian and Broken Blade had the worst 2v2s in the league. If you look at stats, probably because
That's
they were
not right. Acadian and Broken Blade had fine 2v2s.
What was it? No, it was someone else. My bad. Someday and Onda and Huni and Lyra had the worst 2v2s in the league. If you just look at by pure gameplay and look at what you're watching the games and you're paying attention, those 2v2s were terrible. And then later on, Lyra was like, I can't gank for this guy. I'm gonna just go to bot lane, where he probably should have been going most of the split. But they lost a lot of games funneling resources into Huni. And like I said before, he had already been on a downtrend last year.
Only one split though.
True, but that's the last time we see of him. And you said you have to go off that.
I can go off to an extent, but again, a lot of his career has been
pretty
random
good
slumps.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he usually bounces back immediately. Like it doesn't seem like he did it, especially not the entire season. He had one good game, like one or two good games, and then the rest of it has been horrible. Man, he's like Lyra trying to counter jungle in the top side of the half and been Huni responding later. It's just been. I think the biggest problem with this team is the lack of shot caller. Like I think Lyra played really well towards the end of the half of the split. Demonte played well for the most part. Like Piglet.
Oh wait, we haven't talked about Piglet yet.
You're gonna get a lot. I'm gonna get a lot of slack for this, but I do think he played really well this year. I think that, I think he was he was a pretty decent ADC this year. I think, if you look at just stats wise, I think if you look at the gold share, he had the lowest gold share out of every ADC in the league. Or so is his damage share for his team itself. It was one of the higher in the entire league, considering all roles. I do think he's a really great player this split, but I think people like to look at the big plays that happen. And it leaves a big impact. He did get picked off. I think that's why I can't even nearly put him in the top 3 or top 5 anymore. But for the most part, he got picked off a little bit too often. I think that he tried to make things happen too much. But I think that, again, he probably is the best player on the scene. I think that I'd put him at number 1 on this team.
I was going to put Demonte if he was still here.
Demonte probably isn't the best on it. Again, Demonte had a lot of off games.
Everybody has off games though. Jensen and Bjergsen
the thing
still
about
had
it
off
is,
games.
it was the entire
the back end of the
split though. Where so his Piglet had to just got picked off.
He was consistent overall.
He was getting picked off a bit, but for the most part, he didn't really have a bad game. Just more like bad situations.
People. That's weird though. Throughout the split, people were like, man, he's gonna feed and Cody Sun's gonna get brought up. I mean, like I said, they probably were gonna eventually put Cody Sun in the main roster, which they did, but we still don't know how that's gonna pan out for next split.
We don't know who we're gonna keep.
Yeah, but overall, if you look at just how Piglet played, I thought it was okay. I thought he excelled at stuff that wasn't ADCs, but that could have been what they should have did to make playoffs was they should have just played the way they were playing. Play your off meta stuff, and if they can't beat it, you get free wins off that.
I think they just need to improve as a team because obviously their biggest problem wasn't the fact they were playing meta. They shouldn't have to cheese to win games because they have a good roster on paper.
But if that was the way you're getting wins and that's how you can bandit the situation until you can fix those problems.
They started banning Aurelia, dude. What do you want them to do? They started banning Aurelia and Cassiopeia on them.
He was a really good Aurelia though.
His Cassiopeia was also good top.
Gosh. But that's pretty much it. I did have Clutch outside of the playoffs. He had Clutch in the playoffs, and then Golden Guardians. Did you want to touch on them?
We haven't even talked about the bottom half of the list yet.
For which one?
Everybody.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Who did I have?
We're the same bottom 4. Actually, bottom 3.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's try it this way. Which one was your biggest surprise out of your bottom 3? Because you had Echo Fox as a dark horse. You said Echo Fox could be a dark horse.
I think it's obvious who the biggest surprise is, considering we both put him at 10th.
Oh, Flyquest.
I underestimated Cop to a drastic extent. Cop and St. Vicious are the single best coaches that NA has produced. I think they are they're the smartest. The draft phase is almost always great. The way their team plays around the map always incredibly good. I don't think you can attribute it to anybody but them really. Again, Paul Bolter played out of his mind. Santorin, one of the best junglers in the league, but everybody else was pretty average. And that honestly doesn't look like a team that should do as well as they did. Like their success
Going into the
came,
split,
yeah.
oh no.
Yeah, especially not going into the middle. But like just even if you look at the team now, like the bot lane wasn't that strong. The top lane was pretty good, but not that great. Most of it came down to jungle and mid, and that really isn't enough to do as well as they did to make it as much of an impact as they did. And really, the reason they did so well is because of the fact that their coaching staff is just incredible. So I didn't take that into consideration, and I'm sorry. He really didn't deserve that.
See, that's the thing. Like, my thing with them is that I still don't regret putting them at 10th because I feel like if the better teams that we had moving into playoffs perform better, they would still be around like 7th place.
No, there's no way Optic is better than them. Even if Optic plays to their standard.
I still feel like if 100 Thieves, Clutch, and COG played the way they should have played and had performed better with their star players over their star players, I still feel like they would have still not made playoffs.
I don't think CLG is as good as them either. I think CLG and Optic are both below them.
Yeah, well, looking back, what we know now, but going in, if you think just on paper, Flyquest still should probably be like 8th place.
Yeah, but on paper it doesn't matter because again, CLG is not good, even on paper anymore.
No, that's out of the question. They're terrible. And you had him out of playoffs.
I do.
He's like Darshan is so bad and they're not gonna make playoffs because of Darshan. And in the last game, it was because Darshan they didn't make playoffs. It was literally just because of him. I don't know how you predicted that, but he was like...
No, everybody could have predicted that Darshan would be the detriment of this team.
Okay, but like you specifically said Darshan is the reason why they're not going to make playoffs.
He's not good.
But that was that one game. He did not... That was terrible. He was the reason why they didn't make... He was the reason why they did not beat Echo Fox.
Okay, I didn't say that Darshan is going to lose them the playoff spot because he's going to play Nico on the top lane. No.
He got 2 out of 3, right?
He is literally just not good enough to play in the LCS anymore.
It's just like they were so close.
They
like
were, but his
Power Eagle picked it up. Wiggly, you still don't think he's good. Wiggly played middle, probably where Contracts played, middle of the pack, probably. Six and Bifrost, it was literally Power Eagle carrying them. If I'm being honest.
I think this whole team revolves around Biofrost and Power People.
Yeah.
Stixay was a massive disappointment this year.
Gosh, man. Never let... Here's a message to CLG. If you ever see this video, I swear, do not let Darshan, in a playoff game where you have to make playoffs, play a carry.
Don't let him play.
Well, I mean, if he literally just picked a tank, it would have been okay. Maybe. But he picked a carry.
If he picked his favorite spot on the bench and let Fallen Bandit play.
Fallen Bandit, he didn't get a chance. I feel like he didn't get a real chance to shine. Because they did play him in the split. They played him like a few times. And I feel like he got kind of the bad end of the stick, though. Because, like, they didn't really let him, like, play more games to improve. They were like, he had one bad game. Just sub him out. Get him out of there. But
it wasn't even the biggest problem in that game when he played Kennen.
That's the thing.
He made a lot of bad mistakes, but there was a lot of other things going wrong in that game.
So you had CLG at the playoffs. Did Optic kind of be where you thought they were going to be? Because Optic got 7th. We had them at 9th, so it's...
I think ranking-wise, again, obviously they're where we put them to an extent, but at the same time, they really did surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Big's shot calling was absolutely better than I expected. Again, the junglers are just where I expected. Two of the top best junglers in the league on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
The top laner, horrible. Even worse than I expected.
If 100 Thieves gets rid of Someday and Optic could get him, please get him. For the sake of, like, anything.
But Crown was absolutely tremendous. Like, just so good this split that it was incredible.
He's played great.
Played incredibly good this split, and I can't really say anything beyond that.
The only person he didn't really beat was Jensen and Bjergsen. Other than that, he beat everybody else. Oh, he was kind of struggling against Niski, but other than that, he's at least, like, top 3 or top 2 for mid laners. But it's so bad to make a case for him because his team did not do anything. Like, his team was just... Him and Dark are just carrying his whole team. Like, I feel bad for them. And then they didn't even play Dark toward the end of the split. It was just Meteos and Crown carrying them. Like, I think Big did perform better.
Dig is a lot better than everybody expected this split. He's drastically improved.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of Arrow?
I think Arrow was just not as bad as I expected. He played fine. He played fine this year.
Still not his MVP level.
No.
But he played okay. I think the biggest surprise we both had Echo Fox at 8th. And they made 6th, So like we're close. We're like this team has potential because Apollo and Hakuo now could get their rematch to beat TSM again. So
Not gonna happen.
this time around, you're like, no, it's not gonna happen this time.
I really do think that Echo Fox against anybody else, I think they have a chance.
Yeah.
I'm even considering the top 2 teams, but TSM just look ridiculous right now.
Now going into the split, Echo Fox, you would probably think like with their roster, they probably should still not make playoffs.
I specifically, again, I said at the beginning of the year that if they do make playoffs, it's gonna be off the back of the jungler.
Mm-hmm.
They almost didn't make it off the back of the jungler.
Surprisingly, yeah, it was
Russ
crazy.
almost kept them out of playoffs and then brought them into playoffs at the end of the year. He played really well at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. They should never play their academy jungler. Holy crap!
It gave him a reason to play well.
Mm-hmm.
I was fine with it.
And then, okay, that's pretty much all the teams. Do we forget anything?
I want to talk about Solo. Has been a really solid piece of this team towards the end.
I'd say a really bad solid piece.
He was solid. Like again, at the beginning of the year, horrible.
Every time I mentioned Solo be solid, he was like, "No, you're."
It was at the middle of the year when you said this, and he had slightly improved, but not to the level you said.
Because like the first week, it was really hard to make a case for this guy. All his silent gauges are like whiffed. Paul and Hakuho performed better than people expected.
I still don't know why he's playing over Lorlo. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, Lolo in the academy scene looks great.
Lorlo has always been better than Solo. It makes no sense as to why he's not playing over him.
They would actually have a carry top lane threat. Maybe.
There's two, like, I wouldn't say legit carry threat, but he has the potential to play some carries.
Because like you look at the Echo Fox Academy team, Lolo's playing really decent.
He really is.
I feel like he's the single reason why they would lose a best of 5 to TSM because he's just not a good player overall. All things considered. Solid doesn't mean good. Solid means you're just not a feeder anymore. Like, well to me, but anything else I'm looking at? Let's see. So same way we did with the EU games. What was your best game throughout the split? If you had to pick like 2 or 3 for the best NA games you saw this year, rather than spring split. If I had to choose some,
I'm trying to think.
TSM versus Cloud9, the first time around, because that was a good game. When Licorice picked Silas. Licorice is still the best sauce in the West. EU sauces are terrible. Oh my god, EU sauce is bad. Other good games in split. Like, you could think that would just really stand out, because there was a lot of bad games in the split. It's really hard to pick out like some from like the bottom. I'm trying to think. Oh, TSM when they beat Team Liquid the first time around. It showed like, okay, this can be a really good team, and they all start. I feel like that's when they really did started turning it on. Like it didn't show that the next few games, but I feel like that game was a real like decider as reason like this is when TSM is gonna finally turn it on. So Cloud9 versus TSM for me the first time around when Licorice picked Silas, and then you have the TSM versus Team Liquid the first time around. You didn't like any of the games in split, did you?
I don't think the quality of the LCS was that great. I think I really did enjoy a lot of the clutch game because they were just action-packed.
100 Thieves should not be playing because they stole my time. Because there's Thieves, get it? Mm-hmm. If I had to choose a third game, I don't really know if I have a third game. Because all of TL's games were kind of boring, but they still won. So I mean, you can kind of take that for what it is. The Cloud9 games were really interesting because they were like, always trying to do something other than just standing there doing nothing. That felt good. Yeah, it's just those two games stood out to me. Theoretically, I would put the second time TSM and Cloud9 faced, but realistically, if I'm looking at that from a viewer perspective, TSM probably should have won that game, but you got to look at it from a perspective like, they're not stupid. They know, they're pro players. They know how to beat somebody if they throw a mistake. So you can kind of attribute that as well. If TSM beat Cloud9, that means they go 11-0 in the back end of the split. That is incredible. But other than that, if I can't choose that game in terms of an actual good quality game. But overall, people really did criticize North America for being slow. I want to get this out there. Being passive doesn't mean bad quality of game. It means like thinking out your game plan is not a bad thing. Literally, Splice and Origin do that, and Splice is terrible. So like there are teams in EU that do the exact same thing. Splice, Schalke, Misfits, they play the exact same way that some of these teams do.
And they're still faster paced.
Yeah, that's the thing. They do know how to do faster paced things. Like look at Rogue games. Rogue would be 10th place here with like Optic. Ro could probably barely beat Optic. So
No, I would disagree. I think that
someone said Jin Air would be good here. Are you crazy? Jin Air would be like
That's not
10th
true.
place. Jin Air might be
10th
like
place in every region.
Jin Air. Shout out, good job, Jin Air. 10th place all the time. But Jin Air in North America, no, they would be 10th place here. They could probably CLG could probably beat Jin Air. Okay, maybe not with Darshan, but worst games to split. For me, anything 100 Thieves played.
I was about to say 100 Thieves versus
Clutch.
That was not fun either.
That was the single biggest throw I've ever seen, aside from a couple TSM games internationally. Clutch had a 10,000 gold lead on inhibitor turrets and then lost. I was like, okay, this is bad. Like, that is atrocious. Like, I don't like using the word throw or getting lucky, but 100 Thieves got lucky and they threw. That's what luck is. That's what a throw is. Like, that was abysmal. Piglet's like 5-0. Demonte's like 5-1. Hooney's actually playing good, and 10,000 gold lead. Now we just gonna
and
throw.
100 Thieves versus CLG was also terrible the first time around.
So bad.
It just took way too long. 100 Thieves refused to ever close out with their lead, which they had a 10,000 gold lead.
That was the only game to split where they had a gold lead. Actually, I think so. There was a bad game that they played against Golden Guardians. Remember? Golden Guardians got like a bunch of Drakes, and 100 Thieves just sat in their base just clearing minions, and they didn't really do anything. I think anything 100 Thieves base was terrible. If you just had to not look at that, oh god, 100 Thieves versus Optic, that one game where it took so forever with Dark played Jace jungle.
That was horrible.
Oh god, any of the top tier teams played good games to you?
You mean solid?
Anything decent?
I think that Team Liquid towards the let me think. TSM, like, who did they play where they closed out the game extremely fast? I'm trying to remember what that game was.
I'm pretty sure that was against TL.
Was it against TL, right?
It was when Broken Blade counterpicked Jackson Yorick, right?
Yeah, incredible. Like, I think they honestly, I like the
Exposed
way
TL?
they did it. Yeah, they knew how to play around TL's, again, passive early game.
Mm-hmm. And it showed. It wasn't just a counterpick. They legitimately clapped them the second time around, too. And like I said, going into the split, someone's like, how do you upset Liquid? Xmithie and Impact. You do it that way, and then you'll win. I think it was visibly shown that every time they did that, teams won. And then the team that didn't do that, well, they lost. That's how it worked. Going on paper, you would know those are the two players you need to exploit. And then TSM did it. Weirdly enough, Echo Fox did it. That was like, what are you doing? What is it? Where has this Echo Fox been all my life? Biggest surprise?
What?
Biggest surprise?
I thought we already did this.
Or who failed your expectations beside Clutch? Because that's just a given.
Besides 100 Thieves, who I already talked about too.
Who failed my expectations? If I look back on my list, if you're talking about 100 Thieves, CLG did, because that's unacceptable to lose to that in that fashion that they lost in who you're supposed to be in playoffs. Like, you give a player something he hasn't excelled on in I don't know how many splits over like just picking him a safe pick like Orin. Like, he played good on Orin. He played good on tanks. But give him a carry and let's throw the game.
So I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So, this was fun. So for summer, we're gonna know where to place these teams. Hopefully, 100 Thieves, you better keep Bang or someday, because that is oh god, man, I feel bad.
They need to keep both of them. See you later.
Like, comment.